Get your facts straight, debunking entrepreneurial myths. And I was going to say that just aren't true, but Fred reminds me that myths are, in fact, not true. So I have Fred Cary, who is CEO of IdeaPros, with me today. And my name's Tessa. I'm the Director of Marketing. Hello, Fred. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, Tessa. Hello, everybody.
Fred actually said right before we got on, don't laugh. And so I messed it up immediately. We're talking about getting your facts straight and those myths that people believe all too often. And we have 5 of them to go over with you. So I'm going to put this on the screen. And Fred, we're going to go through each one of those.
Yeah. And before we do, I want to say one thing. Some people, this is just kind of an omnibus thing. Some people think that anybody can be an entrepreneur. That's not true at all, right? Anybody who has an entrepreneurial sense about them, that is willing to take a risk, that's willing to change their life, that's willing to work the hard hours, is willing to give up their 40-hour work week with pay to work for 80 hours or more a week without pay. Those are the type of people that can become entrepreneurs. So we have a small subset, even though in America alone, there's 500,000 new entrepreneurs a month. That's a minority of our workforce. So anybody who's watching this, you're special, just for watching. But let's go through these myths and shoot them down.
I love it. Let's do it. All right, we're going to get our facts straight, and hopefully everything will cooperate with me. Debunking entrepreneurial myths. Myths number 1, entrepreneurs are good leaders.
Yeah, we're the opposite when we start up, and this is part of the reason that companies fail really early on. So I think this one is really important for all of you that are starting on this journey right now. If you're a partner of mine, we've been doing a lot of heavy lifting for you, but there's going to come a time when we hand you the keys where you're in charge of everything. For people who have not partnered with us, you're starting from day one that way, where you're doing everything, right? You're trying to figure out where to get your stuff, where to sell it, how much to sell it for, where to store it, how to ship it, how do I market, how do I do my advertising, what does operations look like? And we're doing all these things on our own. How do I get money, right? And as you start growing as an organization, you need to start bringing in other people and start empowering other people. And that's really, really hard for an entrepreneur who's been used to doing everything on their own. So the sense that you get is twofold. Number 1, you don't bring other people in early enough. And number 2, when you do bring them in, you tend to micromanage. So an entrepreneur by force starts out as a bad leader, not a good leader. You're a bad leader because you have to do everything on your own. And a leader, by definition, leads other people. And by leading other people, you need to empower other people. As you grow your organization, you need to start trusting. That's why they have that phrase, always surround yourself with people smarter than you. Mm-hmm. It's no more true than it is in business, right? You want to have an expert in operations. You want to have expert advertisers, expert marketers, expert people in fulfillment, logistics, import, export, manufacturing. You want to have all these experts that are better than you at it, because there's no way that you can do all those things on your own and do them as well as any high-level person that you bring in that's a specialist in that one arena. You can't be a specialist on everything. Even me with 30 years plus career as an entrepreneur, there are tons of things I don't know how to do at all. I'd be lost on my own. So this is a really, really, really good lesson, because it's a switch from entrepreneur to leader. And think about that, keep your pulse on it, understand when it's time to start bringing in more people or even a second person and start letting loose of the reins a little bit. Just make sure that you're, as a leader, you're putting out a clear direction, clear understanding, clear culture for your organization as you start growing, and you'll be able to make that transition.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. And a lot of you that are out there, I know you are in that entrepreneurial one-man show kind of arena right now, but if you are starting to invite in team members, let us know in the chat that you're becoming a leader, because I'm just really curious if everyone, I've talked to a lot of even our partners and they're starting to build their team already. So I just want to kind of get a feel for how you guys are doing on that right now and where you're at. So that's number one. Entrepreneurs are good leaders. Myth number one, busted by Fred. Number two is you can't start without venture capital funding. I know that a lot of people think that they have to have that money in their pocket before they can do anything.
Yeah, and we have a slide on that as well. The reality is that for the most part, entrepreneurs find a way to get the money. Right? The first thing, here you go. First thing is your personal loans and your credit. And literally all of our partners are in those first two columns for the most part, right? The problem with those other columns, you can't get there at the idea stage for the most part. And when you go all the way down to banks and crowdfunding, crowdfunding happens later in the process. You have to have at the very least a prototype. You definitely need to understand what you're selling things for, where you're going to get them, how long it's going to take you to finish them. So when you start your company for the first time, you have your resources, and your family and friends who believe in you. So don't sit back and wait until you can get these other resources. Venture capital, they're not going to even talk to you unless you came from a senior position in Google or one of those other companies where they're betting on you as an individual because of your track record, right? Angel investors, it's possible, but even then, you really need to have some structure in place. You really need to understand your marketplace, where you're going, why you have a solution that is going to make people want to go with you. There's so many things that you need to present to angel groups, and it's really, really hard. The easiest, even though it is hard, is find a way to fund it yourself. And that's what I did with several of my companies that I started. I found a way to make it happen. And then once you get your traction, then you can go down that scale. And then you can talk about bringing in angels or banks or private equity funds or even venture capital once you get to a certain point.
Perfect. And then I think the question comes up on how much money, what's enough money to start. So we have this slide to talk about that.
Right. And frankly, to work with us, you need to, even though it's a fraction of what it would cost to get you to where we get people, you need to have a good amount of money to work with us, because you're underwriting a minority percentage of what we need to do. But to get started scrappy in the garage, trying to figure things out, get the ball moving a little bit, you don't have to go out there and have $1 million waiting for you already. If you're onto something, you think it's something you really want to do. If you look at these companies and the amount of money it took them to get started, get started is a relative term, but the first amount of investment that these companies put into their process were these amounts of money. Okay, so you can see that. Well, Hewlett Packard was a long time ago.
I was going to say that was a different time.
Yeah, but even Whole Foods, $60,000 for brick and mortar organization. So there's an opportunity here for you to start smaller than you think that you need to. It's not going to get you that far, but it'll get you down the road. And by the way, one of the first things you can do with research and surveys and things like that, you maybe find out that you're going down the wrong path, and you'll save all the rest of the money that you're going to spend afterwards if it turns out your idea is not that wonderful idea you thought it was.
Perfect. Well, if you guys have questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll take a look at the end. I know I saw a lot of comments. We are live with you.
Yeah. By the way, can you go back to that slide? Just wanted to point out, even at this level, if you look at the black and the green part of it, The black represents money that was borrowed, right? So even at those low levels, the founders of these organizations weren't rich. You think of them now as multimillionaires or billionaires, but even American Apparel, out of the $45,000 that they started with, they had 10,000 of it, and the rest they had to go borrow.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Perfect. Very helpful. It puts it into perspective for sure. So myth number 3 is that you're going to forget your routine and you are 24/7. I'm pretty sure that they took a picture of me right there. I'm just kidding.
Well, the second half of that is somewhat true, right? Because literally, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be available whenever. And it seems like a lot of my partners want to text me on the weekend instead of during the week. And so I'm answering those texts and I'm answering those emails over the weekend, where you may not ordinarily do that. If somebody's working for a big company, their work email, they don't even look at it over the weekend. So there is some truth to that 24/7. You have to always be available. But the reality is, you need to have a routine and you need to have structure, because all these things are coming at you all the time. You need to have an ability to manage the flow so that you can stay on top of the game. We do have a chart on that as well. But basically, when you start your day, you do the hardest thing first. Get that out of the way. Pardon?
I know what chart you're talking about, and I don't have it in my PowerPoint, of course.
Oh, all right, so maybe Tessa will hand it to you afterwards, or I'll give it to her again. But anyway, it's do the hardest thing first in your day, right? You have to have time management, and I like to get rid of the things that are the most pressing, hardest things to accomplish at the beginning of the day. Then everything else you need to do is start small. Just work your way through the other things that you have to do in a day. Give yourself, maybe if you're really, really overloaded, a certain time to answer telephone calls, a certain time to answer emails. And if you can put those time blocks in there, you're starting to organize that time instead of disrupting yourself throughout the day. Third thing, you got to give your brain a break. What I did is, on my cell phone, when I get a phone call now, most of the time when I get a phone call on my cell phone, it's like unknown number. It's some spam call or something, but I put classical music on there. So when I get a phone call, I just stop 30 seconds. I never answer the damn phone because I don't know who it is, but it gives me a 30-second break while that's ringing. And that really helps me settle down throughout the day. So find a way to give your brain a break, because you're going to, oh, there it is.
It took me a second to find it, but I'm in
Give
here.
your brain a break. And then that fourth step, which to me is kind of really the first step all over again, get a routine. When I start my day, I work on me before I work on my business. When I work on me, I get up around 5:30. I work out with a trainer 5 days a week, an hour to an hour and a half. I meditate. I express gratitude, positive affirmations. I do a little bit of meditation, and I read a little bit, whether it's one paragraph, one chapter, or something. I establish that routine to get me ready for the day ahead, and to make sure that every single day I know I spent some time on me, on making me better, making me healthier, and making me more available to the rest of you and the rest of the people that work with me. So I'm on top of my game every single day. So start with that routine, and again, work on you before you work on your business, and that's going to help you throughout this whole cycle.
Wonderful. Okay, let me see if I can make this happen again. Oh, look, there we go. Now we just have to make this full screen and we're back in business. Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Fred likes to throw fun things at me. So if you create that routine, then you're respecting yourself and putting yourself in that position where you can be more to everyone else. So myth number 4, get to market fast and beat the competition.
Yeah, and we hear this all the time. We got to rush. This is such a great idea. I got to get moving on it. In other shows, I've I've gone over and over again on showing that opportunities are not always best gleaned by rushing the market. When you rush the market, a couple of things happen. The most important one of which is you're probably unprepared. And when you're unprepared, you're going to make mistakes, probably a lot of mistakes. When you make those mistakes, you're done. All you need is a bunch of one-star reviews, a bunch of customers that are not happy because you don't have your customer service lined up, that the electronics or whatever it is that you're building has been delivered and is not working the way it should work. You really need to set back, forget about the competition in the sense that you don't rush something just to beat somebody else. A couple of good examples is you have Uber started in 2009. Lyft came along in 2011, right? Doing literally the same thing. They're both public companies. They both have billions of dollars. They both have huge market share. And you could argue that Lyft is not entrepreneurial at all because they didn't come up with anything different. But they saw an opportunity and they saw some ways to make it better for drivers. Apparently, I haven't studied them that deeply, but they were really able to penetrate the market and become a significant player. God wish that each of us can become as big as that second one. And I've also told a Facebook story before that Friendster was the first company out there, and then MySpace had more searches than anything else, than Google. And then they got killed by Facebook. And now Facebook's going to end up being killed by something else. When none of my kids will even be on Facebook anymore, you know that that's going to migrate into something else, right? So you don't have to be first, you have to be best. You don't have to rush. You have to make sure that you've done everything you need to do to deliver a quality product. You can anticipate the competition and you can start thinking about the changes you're going to make to still make yourself that desired entity, the desired solution, the desired product, even when competition comes in there, or even especially if competition comes in first, you can go in there and take advantage of their one-star reviews and turn them into your own 5-star reviews.
Wonderful. Okay, let me see if I can get you back. Okay, got you back. So number 5. This one is interesting. I know you picked this one. It's interesting because I think it's a lot more common that people believe this than I would like to in my heart. But you don't, the myth that you have to be young and American to be an entrepreneur. So I'll let Fred take this.
Yeah, and that's even in America. The reality is that most entrepreneurs that are coming out there are between 35, 55, 60. They are people that have had a career, have worked 5 years, 10 years, 15 years doing something, and have had this gnawing thing that this is not the right life for them, and have switched that into something else. In fact, some of the really well-known entrepreneurs have started pretty late, not in their early 20s, although there are obviously examples like, again, like Facebook and things like that, where they did start that early. But, you know, look at WhatsApp, for example, right? 35 years old is when he started. Craigslist started in his 40s, right? Well, and then you got the things like McDonald's and Coca-Cola and KFC and kind of the old school things. But even way back then, these people were 50 or more when they started, 65 for KFC. So the reality is you can start at any point. And if you start later, you're likely to have a little bit more gray hair, a little bit more common sense in the sense that you have been disappointed before. You have had people make you promises that they didn't keep. You've had people say, hey, this is awesome, I'm going to cut you a check, and they disappear. So you're more ready for battle. I remember when I was 24 and I would go have a meeting to raise money. And if there was any bit of interest expressed, I was running home to pop the champagne, or the Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill horrible wine that I used to love back then, whatever it was, I thought every positive move in my direction was a victory. And as you get older and more seasoned, you understand that there are all sorts of pitfalls all the time, and that gives you an opportunity to be a better entrepreneur. As far as being from this country, being American, this slide is pretty amazing, and I'm gonna explain why. Think about this: 25% of U.S. entrepreneurs come from other countries. U.S. entrepreneurs. I'm not talking about entrepreneurs around the world. 25% of entrepreneurs are foreigners that have come into this country because it's the land of opportunity, right?
Or Canada. I see someone over there that's saying Canada too.
Canada is, an immigrant in a sense, because they get to stay where they are, but they're starting a U.S. company,
Markets,
right?
Exactly.
And literally half of the ones valued at $1 billion or more were founded by immigrants, right? And 30% of venture-backed founders are immigrant entrepreneurs. Why? Because well, probably a lot of reasons, but one critical reason is when somebody comes from another country to the U.S. to start anew, they are giving up everything. They're giving up their culture, their friends, their family, whatever business they had there. In a lot of cases, their medical degree, their law degree, whatever, to come here, drive a cab, start new. And so they already have that spirit built into them that I'm going to give up everything to follow my dreams. I'm going to let it all go so I can start over. And so when you come here with that attitude, you've come here with the exact attitude it takes to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to try to make it your own way, you got to be an immigrant. You got to think like that. You got to think that being an entrepreneur brings you to a whole nother country, a whole nother world, and you're basically giving up most of everything that you've accumulated to start fresh, to start anew, to follow your dream, to make sure that you can have a life of purpose because you're finally doing what it is that you were meant to do all along.
Well, I love that. We covered 5 myths in today's show, and I know Fred probably has a final thought on to summarize all of them and all these, the entrepreneurial journey, and really just doing it, right? Stop waiting.
Yeah, and don't expect immediate victories. Don't be an entrepreneur if you're not ready for pain. Even people that work with us, there's all sorts of delays all the time. And thank God the great majority of my partners understand that. And we've had products that there's one product right now that we re-engineered it now for the 7th time. The fortunate umbrella that my partners have is they don't have to pay for all those, and I do. But the reality is when you're on your own, you're going to run into those same things. Nothing is going to happen as fast as you want it to. None of the engineering that comes back is going to be right the first time. You're going to have prototypes that break. You're going to have schedules that are delayed. You're going to have pandemics, hopefully never again, but things out of your control, macro environmental issues that you can do nothing about. You're going to have customers that don't show up right away because you're not marketing the right way. It is full of anxiety, anticipation, and the only way to get through it is determination, stubbornness, and a great belief in yourself. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, put on your boxing gloves. It's a fight, and it's a fight that never ends. So come on into the ring and let's go at it.
I love it. I don't know if I want to go up against Fred. Have you seen him work out? He's an intense, very strong person.
20-year-olds throw up in my workout, that's for sure.
Well, thank you, Fred, for sharing those. I'm going to let you go so you can get back to business as usual this Friday, and we'll let me see if I can remove you, and I will chat with everyone.
By the way, I get back to business as unusual, not usual.
As unusual. Thank you, Fred. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here every Friday at noon Pacific time. If you haven't already hit the bell, I'm going to take a couple of the last hit the bell that says get notifications so you guys don't miss out on any of our shows. Also in the post, there's a link where you can get signed up to get reminders when we go live. We do send them by text. It's so much easier than trying to get to your email and remember what time and all that fun stuff. So feel free to click that and get on with us. Thank you. I want to say hi to Yadira, Martin, Stephanie, Kelly Reed, Gloria. I know I saw Sean Reed, Michael over there at Recite. We have Corey, Jason, Jay, sorry, messed that one up. You guys are all here. Abel, thank you guys. And Odin, I loved your Canadian comment. That's actually what I put up on there from Canada as well. Ken over there with Crash Pad. Guys, we have so many big announcements coming with partners who are live. We have a new website for IdeaPros that we're just getting into. Having everything updated. We'll have features on there from all of our partners. So many good things coming up. Vanessa, I think I chat with you pretty soon. I see you on my calendar. But if you have any questions, you're in this process, you don't know what to do next, please let us know. You can chat with us on Facebook. You can go to our IdeaPros.com website. You can get lots of resources in our blog area. And pretty soon we'll have a new resource page as well. If you are starting the journey for the first time, that's going to have all of our best shows in one compilation, one location for you. So you can go check out how to get the funding, how to do the marketing. And this journey is insanely involved, right? There's a lot of things you have to know how to do all the time. So thank you. I appreciate you guys being here. And I'm going to reply by chat since we went so long today. Hey, D-Tunes, I see you over there. And Danny with Eat That Frog. So the funny thing is I just talked with Danny today about routines and a lot of these same things that we were covering right here on the show today. So there you go. It's like a show just for you. So we will see you guys all next week. For some reason, I can't put any comments on my screen. I usually can, and it won't let me put them on there. So thank you guys. We appreciate you and look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.